What if everything you thought you knew about the Titanic was only half the truth? What if the story of a tragic iceberg collision wasn't the full story at all? Because for over 100 years, one chilling possibility has lingered beneath the surface, buried in documents, hidden in testimonies, and dismissed as coincidence. Until now, tonight, we're uncovering the Titanic's darkest secret. A theory so unsettling, so controversial, that some believe it was intentionally kept hidden for generations. And by the end of this video, you might never look at the Titanic the same way again. Let's begin with what you already know. April 1912. The RMS Titanic, hailed as the unsinkable ship, set sail on her maiden voyage from Southampton to New York. A floating palace, the pride of modern engineering, the symbol of human progress. But just 4 days into the journey, disaster strikes. A collision with an iceberg tears open the ship's hull. Panic erupts, lifeboats are launched, and in less than 3 hours, the Titanic slips beneath the icy Atlantic, taking over 1,500 souls with her. That's the official story. But what if the iceberg wasn't the true villain? What if something far more sinister was already happening, long before the Titanic ever left port? Here's where things start to get strange. Before the Titanic even set sail, there were warnings. Not just minor concerns, but serious, documented issues that, in hindsight, seem impossible to ignore. Coal bunker fires. Yes, fires. Hidden deep within the ship, in the coal storage areas, a fire had reportedly been burning for days before departure. Now think about that for a second. A fire inside a brand new luxury liner before its first voyage. Why wasn't it delayed? Why wasn't it repaired? Why was it allowed to sail anyway? According to some surviving crew members, the fire wasn't just a small incident. It was intense enough to weaken parts of the ship's structure. Metal exposed to prolonged heat can lose strength. Steel can become brittle. And if that happened to the Titanic's hull, then maybe, just maybe, the iceberg didn't need to be that big or that deadly, because the damage had already been done. But it gets darker. Some experts suggest that the fire was deliberately downplayed. Why? Because delaying the Titanic's maiden voyage would have been a financial disaster. The ship was owned by the White Star Line, backed by powerful investors. Every day the Titanic sat in port meant lost money, lost prestige, and public embarrassment. So instead of fixing the problem, they managed it, or rather, they hoped they could. Now ask yourself this: if you were in charge of the world's most famous ship, and you knew there was a fire on board, would you risk everything? Would you still send thousands of passengers out into the Atlantic? Or would you do everything in your power to hide it? And that's not the only suspicious detail. Let's talk about the lifeboats. The Titanic had space for over 3,000 people, but it only carried lifeboats for about half that number. Why? The official explanation is almost unbelievable. They said too many lifeboats would clutter the deck and ruin the ship's luxurious appearance. Let that sink in. Aesthetic over safety. But some researchers believe there's another layer to this decision. If the ship's designers truly believed Titanic was unsinkable, then perhaps they didn't expect to need more lifeboats. Or worse, they didn't want to acknowledge the possibility of failure. Now here's where things take an even more chilling turn. There were warnings about ice. Multiple warnings. Wireless messages from other ships reporting heavy ice fields directly in Titanic's path. But many of those warnings never made it to the bridge. Some were ignored, some were delayed, and some were reportedly brushed aside because the wireless operators were busy sending passenger messages. So while danger loomed ahead, the Titanic sped forward at nearly full speed. At night, through ice-infested waters. Why didn't they slow down? Why didn't they change course sooner? Was it arrogance? Pressure to set a record? Or something else entirely? And then comes one of the most haunting mysteries of all. The ship that could have saved them. The SS Californian. It was nearby, close enough to see Titanic's distress rockets lighting up the night sky. But it never came. Why? Because its radio operator had gone to sleep. Because its crew reportedly believed the rockets were not signals of distress. Because confusion and miscommunication cost precious time. Time that could have saved hundreds of lives. But here's something even more unsettling. Some believe the Californian wasn't just confused, they believe it was intentionally inactive. A theory suggesting that key decisions, delays, miscommunications, ignored warnings, weren't just accidents, but part of a chain of negligence so severe, it borders on something much darker. Now pause for a moment. If you're finding this story as disturbing as it sounds, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who thinks they know the Titanic story, because we're just getting started. And trust me, what comes next might shock you even more. Let's talk about Captain Edward Smith, a seasoned veteran, highly respected, nearing retirement. This was supposed to be his final voyage. So why did he take such risks? Why maintain speed in dangerous waters? Why not act more cautiously? Some say he was pressured by the White Star Line. Others say he was overconfident. But a darker theory suggests something else entirely, that he was following orders. Orders to prioritize speed over safety. Orders to maintain the illusion of invincibility. Orders that, in the end, proved fatal. And then there's J.P. Morgan, one of the most powerful men in the world at the time. He owned the company that controlled the Titanic. And here's the strange part. He was supposed to be on that voyage. But at the last minute, he canceled. No clear explanation, just a sudden decision not to board. Coincidence? Maybe. But some conspiracy theorists believe this was no accident. They suggest that Morgan knew something. Something about the ship. Something about the risks. Something that made him stay behind. Now, to be clear, there's no definitive proof of this. But when you look at all the pieces together, the fire, the ignored warnings, the lack of lifeboats, the speed through dangerous waters, the nearby ship that didn't respond, the powerful figures who didn't board, paints a picture that's hard to ignore. Was the Titanic disaster truly just a tragic accident? Or was it a perfect storm of hidden dangers, poor decisions, and perhaps deliberate silence? As the wreck of the Titanic was finally discovered in 1985, new evidence began to surface. Scans of the hull, analysis of the damage, re-examinations of eyewitness accounts, and what they found challenged long-held beliefs. The iceberg didn't slice open the ship in one massive gash. Instead, it caused a series of smaller breaches. Meaning, if the hull had been stronger, if it hadn't been weakened beforehand, if the damage had been contained, the Titanic might have survived. Think about that. The world's most famous maritime disaster, possibly preventable. And that's what makes this story so haunting. Not just the loss of life, but the possibility that it didn't have to happen. Now, let's bring this full circle, because the Titanic isn't just a story about a ship. It's a story about human nature, about pride, about denial, about what happens when warning signs are ignored and risks are underestimated. And even today, over a century later, we're still uncovering pieces of the puzzle, still asking questions, still searching for the truth. So what do you think? Was it just an iceberg? Or was there something far darker beneath the surface? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all, and I want to hear your take on this mystery. And if you've made it this far, you already know. You're the kind of person who loves uncovering hidden truths and untold stories. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves mysteries just as much as you do. Because the deeper you dig into history, the more you realize some secrets were never meant to stay buried. And the Titanic? It may be resting at the bottom of the ocean, but its darkest secret is still rising to the surface.